Hello, everyone. Today, I'm very glad to share with you my recent research project about the stigmatization of unmarried women in Chinese societies. The term "shengnei," which literally means leftover woman, is a common and derogatory word for unmarried, highly educated, older, and high-income professional women in Chinese societies. Note that the label for similar single men is actually opposite in meaning. The term "shengnan" means prosperous men, also called golden bachelors or even diamond single men. So against this background, I was interested to explore if leftover women are perceived as cold and competent, and whether this stereotype is associated with both universal and culturally unique predictors. We especially wanted to compare the effects of culturally unique versus gender variables on endorsement of this stereotype. Because even though sexism is ubiquitous across cultures, the leftover woman phenomenon seems rather unique to Chinese societies. We conducted 2 surveys, first in Hong Kong and then a replication in China with 2 additional variables, namely social dominance orientation and Chinese individual modality. In this project, we hypothesized there would be a co-competent stereotype of leftover women because they share some attributes with female politicians and professionals who are typically stereotyped as having low warmth and high competence. We also measured more specific negative perceptions based on reports and common portrayals of this stereotype in the media. For example, leftover women are perceived at risk of having negative life outcomes, such as missing out on having a family, loneliness, having nobody to rely on in life, parental pressure and stress, etc. In terms of stigmatized portrayals of the reasons why women are left over, we further designed questions about the personal causes commonly portrayed in the media, including being too picky, overly career-minded, too shy, or even just too ugly. For the culture gender variables, we used ambivalent sexism and social dominance orientation, which have been commonly associated with sexist views and gender stereotyping. For culture-specific variables, we used dual filial piety and Chinese individual modality. Let me briefly explain about filial piety and Chinese individual modality. We used measures developed by Taiwanese indigenous psychologists Ye and Yang. Filial piety is a set of moral norms regarding the ideal parent-child relationship that we thought might increase stigmatization of leftover women. The dual filial piety theory sees 2 kinds: authoritarian filial piety, which is essentially about obedience to one's parents, such as, I will avoid getting married to somebody my parents dislike, and reciprocal filial piety, which, on the other hand, is about caring for and feeling grateful to one's parents. As for Chinese individual modality, this is a measure of modernization in people's attitudes, which we thought might decrease stigmatization of leftover women. The measure we used has various subscales that are relevant to the central issues of our study, such as freedom of marriage and open-mindedness. Results. The green circles. In both surveys, we found the co and competent subscales were highly correlated. So the co-competent stereotype of leftover woman is a coherent concept, even though happily it was not as highly endorsed as we expected, with the average agreement right around the midpoint of our 6-point scales. Yellow circles. This shows the endorsement of the co-competent stereotype, which was highly correlated with perceptions of negative life outcomes and attribution to personal causes. Purple circles. They were also found to be positively correlated with one of the cultural gender variables, ambivalent sexism, but not with the social dominance orientation. Orange circles. Filial piety also had interesting effects. Only authoritarian filial piety, but not reciprocal filial piety, was associated with stigmatized views of leftover women. Further, a mediation analysis found that the relationship between authoritarian filial piety and stigmatized views was largely explained by ambivalent sexism. Finally, the blue circles. For Chinese individual modality, to our surprise, we find positive correlations opposite to our hypothesis. We examined the subscales more closely again and realized that this was mainly due to the freedom of marriage subscale, which is actually very pro-marriage. We also did a mediation analysis and found the relationship was not explained by ambivalent sexism, which suggests that Chinese individual modality is perhaps a non-sexist and culturally unique predictor that still pressurizes women to marry. Key takeaways. Results suggest that both traditional sexist and modern non-sexist aspects of Chinese culture put pressure on women to marry, and that leftover women are perceived as too introverted, overly career-minded, picky, and at risk of losing the benefits of marriage. Results also highlight the hidden danger of stereotype. Although stereotyping unmarried, highly educated professional women as unsocial and highly competent sounds rather neutral in itself. In fact, it can be associated with highly personalized negative perceptions and even stigmatization of unmarried women. Lastly, although the phenomenon of leftover women is perhaps a result of societal modernization, ironically, marriage is still very important in modern China, and modern attitudes still encompass pro-marriage values, hence reinforcing stereotyping and even stigmatization of unmarried women. Independent and competent women, unmarried women in China, unfortunately, continue to have to juggle between personal and career development on the one hand, and parental and societal pressure to get married on the other hand. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, you can email me, Elsa Wong, or Dr. Emma Buktor at the email addresses we listed here. Thank you again.